Yeah.
Good evening, great farmers. Host, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Good evening, great farmers, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back to the VD&S Farmers Center monthly webinar series. Today's topic is titled Maximizing Productivity in Sweet Corn and Wet Season Onion Production. This webinar is organized in conjunction with our partners, Royal Blue Contractors and East West Seed International, and sponsored by Know Your Farm Hands. I am your host, Folake Aino, the MD of VD&S Farms, VD&S Feed Mill, and VD&S Farmers Center. VD&S Farmers Center is a one-stop input shop for both subsistence and commercial farmers. VD&S Farmers Center is an agrovet center that partners with reputable companies like East West Seed International, Royal Blue Contractors, and the likes to provide high-quality seeds and other products for crop and livestock healthcare needs. Together with Royal Blue, both companies are both sole importers of high-quality certified East West seeds to Nigeria. VD&S Farmers Center is involved in the sales, marketing, and distribution of seeds, seedlings, fertilizers, growth media, agrochemicals, biochemicals, irrigation drips and accessories, veterinary medication, vaccines, animal feeds, additives, drugs, biosecurity products, poultry and livestock equipment, and other agricultural inputs with nationwide delivery options. VD&S Farmers Center also offers mentorship, training, consultancy, extension services, and veterinary ambulatory. VD&S Farmers Center is located at number 19 Ajegunle Street, along Ikorodu Itoikin Road in Temo, Ekpe, Lagos, opposite Citizens Comprehensive College. For more information about our products and services, please visit us at www.vdsfarmsonline.com. Royal Blue Contractors is a leading input distribution company in Nigeria. Together with VD&S Farmer Center, the company imports East-West seed into Nigeria. Royal Blue Contractors is also involved in the sales of organic and liquid fertilizers, certified seeds, agrochemicals, and other agro inputs. Their services include the provision of mechanized farm implements, value chain support and development, training, logistics, and transport services, building, construction and maintenance, and facilitating finance for smallholder farmers. They are based in Kano. So we welcome Mr. Ahmad Mohammed Liman, the Managing Director of Royal Blue Contractors, to the webinar. Now, before we proceed, we'd like to take a short message from our sponsor, Know Your Farm Hands. Know Your Farm Hands.
Shey you dey face wahala to hire farm hand wey dey reliable and hardworking. Shey you dey face yawa of steal from the people.
Know Your Farm Hands, are you there? Know Your Farm Hands. Do we have Know Your Farm Hands on?
Risk now, so invest 50% put for mixed farming and 20% on livestock. It can still invest 30% on crop farming with the hope say it go make plenty gain. To start work, you first put signboard outside. To employ anybody waiting say get must to do the work. Now so invest 50% put for mixed farming everything and 20% on livestock. But not be the way they think I'm happen. They spend plenty money, but now small they enter. To start don't ask himself say waiting they shell. The casala wey boss be say now the people wey put for farm to work for am before 419 when they take all employees. They say I'm handling money for pocket. Now instance I know say now in cause am to say you employ people wey no know anything about them. As they don't come broke, say you no do again. He later jam joy wey show am the app wey dem dey call Know Your Farm Hands. She tell him say na for inside the app you go take service farm workers well.
Know Your Farm Hands.
Know Your Farm Hands. Na the app wey you fit use get information about the people wey you wan employ put for your farm. Inside the app you go see wetin the farmer go farm hands. She tell him say na for inside the app you go take service farm workers well.
Know Your Farm Hands. Know Your Farm Hands. Host, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Workers of the workers, don't talk about them. And it go show you everything what you supposed know about the workers where you want employ put for your farm. And if you say be your guy, if you appraise any of your farm workers for the app, you go employ them later, know if they're good or they're no good. You feel verify the experience of any kind of farmers where you want employ with just name or phone number. And it go show you the person picture plus the farm where you don't work before and all other information where you need. To start, Oya Shapali download the app for free for Google Play Store. For other details, then call you fit do any of these three. 1. Send a mail to support@knowyourfarmhands.ng. 2. Visit their website, knowyourfarmhands.ng, or make you buzz their line 0905 399 4937 or 0705 368 0191. As easy begin they use the Know Your Farm Hands app, it just they cash out like Sinzu money. Know Your Farm Hands. Farm owners no need fear about the workers where they want employ put for their farm at all.
Thank you very much, Know Your Farm Hands. The video was a bit I think you had more than one playing at a time. So we weren't able to fully grasp it, but I think probably as we go along, we'll have another opportunity to play your video. So we'll quickly go into the guidelines for this webinar. We would like to have an uninterrupted session today. So I would please implore the host to mute all participants on entry. All questions and comments, clarifications, suggestions, etc., should be typed and sent via chat. We will collate all of these and read them out and respond to them during the question and answer session. We would like for you to make your questions brief and clear and very easy to understand. If we have time in the course of the webinar, we would maybe take contributions from 1 or 2 people, and we expect that each contribution would not be longer than 2 minutes at the maximum. So today, we will sit back and listen to real life testimonies of farmers like you and I, who have over the years planted and are still successfully planting sweet corn and onions from ISWE seed. These farmers have successfully maximized their productivity, and in all cases, they reap bumper harvests every time they plant. So without further ado, I would like you to join me in welcoming our first speaker for today, Mr. Kabir Ademo. Mr. Ademo is a farmer from Bath. He is a local coordinator for the Netherlands Africa Business Council's Seed for Change project in Nigeria. This is a project that aims to help Nigerian farmers enhance their yield and quality of produce through high quality hybrid vegetable seeds and biological crop protection, and is backed by world-class training and expertise. Mr. Kabir Ademo, you have the floor. Mr. Kabir? You can unmute, Miss. You can unmute.
Okay, I can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to all the 59 other wonderful people that have joined us today. And thanks for that introduction. So I will try to share my screen if I can. I have a very light presentation. So give me just a minute. Let me see if I can share the screen. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good. So good evening, every one of us. Once again, thank you for having me on this event. Thanks a lot to the great work of ISWE Seed, VD&S, Royal Blue, and also for those of you that have joined. So as you've mentioned, my name is Kabiru Ademo. I work with NABC. I'm coordinating the Seeds for Change program here in Kanu. And we want to speak a little bit about what we do in Seeds for Change. So we are targeting farmers to try and improve their yield through knowledge building. We try and do trials and testing. Then once we like the varieties, we demonstrate those varieties. If they've done well, we try to build the capacity of the farmer, and we try to create access to market to sell those produce. We will all agree there's no point having high yield as a farmer if you cannot sell. So you need to be aligned well to the market. So that's our approach is. Our scope is mainly on tomato, onions, cabbage, watermelon, peppers, both hot and sweet. And we also have a strong bias towards biological crop protection. So trying to avoid using so much of chemicals to control the pests and diseases that affect our crops. So to get to the main issue of today, which is sweet corn farming. So sweet corn is...
I'm sorry, Mr. Cabral,
Can
I'd
you
like
hear
to
me?
interrupt you a bit. Yes, but could you click on your screen so that we can see a bigger presentation?
Okay.
Yes.
So let me see, how can I make this larger? Um, Sorry, if you can just give me.
You can click on the current slide.
Okay. Is this bigger now?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Is it clearer now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay. So, um, now my, okay. So, back to as I was saying, sweet corn is mainly produced for the fresh market to be consumed, but you can also produce for processed markets. So where we have industries that can and preserve it for further sales. But let's deal with our own reality in Nigeria. It's mainly fresh consumption. I would like us to have a clear distinction between sweet corn and the normal corn. Sweet corn is being bred and grown mainly for the taste, while your normal corn, you're growing it with the intention of getting them as grains. You can use the grains for local processing into food or into the animal feed sector. But most times for our sweet corns, it's mainly aimed at fresh consumption. So when you're growing sweet corns, there are a lot of opportunities, even though it's a new product that has been entering the market over the past few years. You can supply to restaurants and to eateries. Always focus on a lot of the restaurants that have a bias towards a farm to table model. So that's a lot of our restaurants that are very conscious of the quality of produce they use and also who has grown their food. So we have a lot of restaurants that are interested in buying directly from farmers and using the farm to table models. We also have specialty restaurants, like a lot of seafood restaurants that are coming up around the major cities of Port Harcourt, Lagos, Abuja, Kano. We have the grills and barbecue based businesses that will need fresh sweet corn to use in their own menus and in their own recipes. Then we have the home consumption and our street vendors that sell boiled corn. Once you start using sweet corn for boiled corn, most times you will find that your customers will not go back to the normal grain corns that are used for boiled corn. So these are some of the segments that you can target as a grower of sweet corn. So there is a lot of opportunity. We are 200 million people in the country. And even if it's 5 or 10% market share you get with sweet corn, you will get a population of people that might be almost the population of a small country like Luxembourg or Belgium, from the Nigerian market. So no matter how niche or small a product is, because of our large population, there is a big opportunity to be able to feed the local market. So in terms of cultivating sweet corn, I have grown sweet corn personally, even though in our Seed for Change project, sweet corn is not one of our target crops, but it's a ubiquitous crop that we always grow on our farm. Some of the key things you need a good healthy soil that is not shaded. So for corn, just like your normal corn, you don't want to grow it in a shaded area. You don't want a poor soil structure or a nutrient deficient soil. You need soils that are very rich in nutrients. Corn is a heavy feeder, so you will need to really work on your soil. You can find that by your soil testing or just amending with some of the soil amendments, either through organic manure or basal application of fertilizers at the beginning. But a healthy soil is very important for good yield in your sweet corn production. The next thing is your quality and viable seeds. For sweet corn, you will need to get very good seeds, very viable seeds that when you plant, you will not lose a lot of your effort in preparing the ground, tilling the ground and planting and not getting proper germinations. because we sow sweet corns 80% of the time directly. You want to be sure that your seed is viable. You can do a basic seed germination test immediately you buy from your vendors, but also for good vendors, you will need to be able to look at your seed pack, see the expiry date, see the seed codex, and you can have that assurance that you have invested in a good quality seed that will germinate. And you need the correct inputs. So fertilizers are very important. You can choose to go the organic route and use strictly organic fertilizers, or you can use some inorganic fertilizers, or in our own situation, we can use a hybrid of the two. So we try to amend our soil with organic manure at the beginning, and we supplement some of those nutrition that are missing with inorganic fertilizers. You need to also have good crop protection. So you always use your biological crop protection and use a conventional crop protection, because there are pests that will come in for your corn, and you need to consider water. Maize is a heavy feeder and also needs a lot of water to grow. So are you going to grow rain-fed, or is it going to be irrigated production? For year-round production, as we're saying, you will need to make considerations for irrigation once there is no rain. So you can grow your maize, your sweet corn, particularly in the raining season, but you should make provision for the dry season to irrigate the field, to have a continuous supply to this niche market that you're trying to supply to, because no one wants to buy from a farmer today, then tomorrow they start looking somewhere else for another supplier. So we need to take into consideration how we will provide irrigation to these crops. And the most important thing what a farmer needs is knowledge and techniques of growing sweet corn. So I guess that's why a lot of us have joined on to webinars like this, and you also go into a lot of the activities that have been done by East West, by VD&S, Royal Blue, and a lot of agencies and companies that are trying to build the knowledge of farmers and trying to build the capacities of farmers. You need good knowledge to be able to grow your sweet corn properly after investing in the input. Remember, sweet corn is being grown for the taste, not the grain weight. So we are not concerned with how many bags of maize you are getting from your field. It's about how well your corn tastes. Is it tasty enough? And is it clean enough without pest residues, without worms, and the visual appearance of your sweet corn is very important to the market. Okay. So in terms of growing consideration, 1 hectare of sweet corn planting population, we usually do between 44,000 stands to 66,000 stands on our plot on the farm that I have for a hectare, and that is a function of the spacing you choose to use. You can do a 25 centimeter in between the crops and 60 centimeter in between the rows. You can also do a 30 centimeter in between the crops by 75 centimeter in between the rows. We've also had situations where we pack them really closely at 20 centimeter between the crops and 60 cm between the rows. Using any of these three variations, you will get anything between 44,000 stands to 66,000 stands per hectare. It's very important to count your plant population, because your yield starts from how much germination and plant population you're able to squeeze into 1 hectare. The spacing is a function of two things. One, you need to have good nutrition to be able to feed the amount of plants you're putting into that small space. Then the morphology of your sweet corn variety. Are they short varieties? Do they have very wide leaves? If they are very broad-leaved varieties, you might not be able to pack them as close as 20 cm by 60 cm. So you need to be aware of the morphology or the characteristics of that particular variety you want to plant before deciding on a spacing that works for you. As a rule of thumb, on our farm, we always try to supply about 220 kg of nitrogen per hectare to the maize, which is a lot of nitrogen, but maize is a heavy feeder, as we have mentioned before, so we need to be aware of that. The nitrogen, for most of us that are already into farming, are aware it's essential for building cell blocks, it's essential for building more leaves, but you also need your phosphate. So we work with about 175 kg of phosphate to a hectare. This will usually help us to have strong roots and make our sweet corn stand firm. Then the final and important nitrogen element is potassium. We have a higher than usual potassium requirement for our sweet corn as opposed to normal corn. 200 kg to a hectare is what we usually work with because we want to improve the taste and the quality of that sweet corn. And as you are all aware, potassium is very important in the taste and quality of your vegetables. So we work with a very high potassium based fertilizer regimen. Whatever fertilizers you decide to use, you will have to work it around, do your calculation, and see that you supply this amount to the corns. Then you need to worry about pests. For corn in Nigeria, our biggest challenge has always been armyworms. It's become endemic to almost every field. We have armyworms, we have stem borers, especially when you grow in the dry season, not in the rainy season. You have a lot more challenges with worms and stem borers. It's clear because there's not much vegetation for these worms to feed on. So your green, nice looking, well fertilized corn is an ideal location for them to attack. Then we also have birds that will come in and prey and perch on your corn and also take some of the cobs once they are fully formed. We need to really take into consideration how we control this pest. Typically, we try to do a bi-weekly application of Aplingo, and we rotate that with neem oil. So what I mean is in the first 2 weeks, we apply Aplingo. The next week, we apply neem oil, and we keep rotating. And in between our bio pesticides, in this case, neem oil, with a conventional pesticide like Aplingo, which has a lambda thiolotrin and the other active ingredients in it. So always interchange your crop protection. But be aware that because it's a fresh produce that will be consumed fresh, as we get closer to harvest, once you've overcome the issues of the worms and the stem borers, you need to reduce using the conventional crop protection and use more of your neem oil or any other biological crop protection that you might have. This will make sure that you're respecting your post-harvest interval. You will not have your produce rejected by some of the markets that we supply to. Especially the big supermarkets and the restaurants, they are very conscious of how safe and healthy the produce you supply to them are. Weed control. For maize, because of the spacing and because of the large amount of land any plot that is bigger than a hectare, I always advise you to use herbicides because you will find out that your cost of weeding will become so high that it might eat into your production cost. So it's always best to use some form of herbicides. In our farm, what we do is a spray of paraquat, contact herbicide to kill off the grass at the beginning. Sometimes we're pre-emergence. We can use lagoon. We can also use sometimes we also use trying to remember the name now, it will come to me, atrazine, as also a pre-emergence. When they do emerge, once they have germinated, you have the chance to use maybe a selective nicosulfuron and other selective herbicides, but you only have the first 21 days of the crop's life to be able to use selective. Anything after 21 days, your selective herbicides will affect your maize. If your plot is not as big as a hectare, maybe 1,000 square meters, 2,000 square meters, I think it will be best to apply manual weeding. And if it's still a small plot and you can introduce mulching, that will also save you from needing to weed. So you can apply a plastic mulch, you can apply organic mulch, and this also helps you retain a lot of moisture. So the bigger the plot, the more you will consider a permanent solution that doesn't require paying for labor consistently to weed. Now, harvest is a very important consideration for your sweet corn, because it's not the normal grain corn. You are not going to wait for the sweet corn to dry. You need to harvest when the kernels are at their full point, when you have the best taste and the sugar levels on your sweet corn is high enough. That means you have a very, very short harvest window. So if you are going to grow sweet corn at a large scale, you need to have sold it before you even grow it. You need to have your market available so that once you're ready for harvest, it's almost an automatic process of harvesting and sending to your market, because it has a very short time to stay. And as I mentioned before, we don't have process factories in Nigeria yet that are going into sweet corn processing. So try and ensure and align yourself with a market, with an off-taker before you grow, because the window for harvest is usually very short. So just to quickly go through some economics on sweet corn, it's always good to do this farming on paper or numbers, but the reality on the field usually differs. But these are some considerations to look into. Sweet corn prices have ranged between 300 naira to 600 naira a kilo, or sometimes it goes between 60 naira to 100 naira per cob. Typically, we get about 3 to 5 cobs giving us 1 kg, depending on how big we grow the cobs and depending on the variety that we are using. For 1 hectare, we estimate that after having some spoilage and some non-germination, we target to get about 50,000 cobs from a hectare, which, using the calculation of 3 to 5 cobs for a kilo, we are looking at something close to 16 tons per hectare. This is a lot higher than your grain maize, where you actually peel off the shafts and the back, because you still have the cob and the rest forming the weight. It's a fresh produce. Now, in terms of cost of production, this varies a lot, but we find that we usually spend close to 750,000 naira to grow a hectare of sweet corn, going by the permutations of fertilizer and also the cost of seeds. So our main costs are usually from the fertilizer. We know the cost of fertilizer has gone really high, but you input determines your output. And we believe you make that profit back from the sales once you have done your due diligence in the market. Seed costs are quite high. You get anything between 11 to 13,000 naira for 500 grams of sweet corn seed, depending on the company or the varieties. For a hectare, we use about 15 kg of seeds to plant 1 hectare. So when you do the calculation, you can see that a big bulk of your funds is going to go into the seeds and is going to go into the fertilizer. Because of this high cost, we usually advise farmers to stagger the production rather than have 1 big hectare at once. We will prefer you to do maybe smaller plots and you sow consistently, maybe every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. This allows for continuity in your production and you don't have gaps, because the market is still growing, it's still a new niche market. You don't want to have any gaps where your clients will go into other markets or go to other farmers. So it might be better to grow small plots of 1,000 square meters or 2,000 square meters and multiply that by 5 or in 5 consecutive weeks, rather than do 1 big hectare at once. But this is a function of what you have done in the market, how your market preparation is, and what your offtake agreement is. But when we look at this, you see that there is a very good ROI from sweet corn once you have done the market due diligence, you have done the needed activities in aligning yourself with an off-taker. If you don't do this, what happens is a lot of wonderful production and you get a lot of losses because you have a very short window. So the off-take market for sweet corn is the most important consideration. I will always tell every farmer. So try to stagger your production so that you have continuity in the market. I think at this point, I will stop here. So if there are any questions and any discussions, we can speak some more on it. Thank you so much for the time, Folake.
Thank you so much, Kabir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And There are a few things I'd like to reiterate, which you have stated, and I agree with you 100%. And it is what we see all the time, is people going into sweet corn planting without a market. It is, I'm glad that you mentioned it more than once. We need to find the market. We need to actually sell the sweet corn before we produce, because the market, the timing is actually very short. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for the economics. At least for many of us, we're able to understand the figures when it comes to sweet corn. So thank you so much. We will take questions at the question and answer session, so that we can just have, we're already collating the questions, and some questions have already been directed to you. I will read them out when we start the question and answer session. Thank you so much. Now, I think we'll just quickly call on Mrs. Adiza Yaro. She will enlighten us on the variety of sweet corn that is available from East West Seed. Mrs. Yaro is an agronomist, marketer involved in the marketing and rural development, agribusiness and project management for East West Seed. She is the country manager for East West Seed, Nigeria. Adiza, please. Involved in the marketing and rural development, agribusiness and project management for East West Seed. She is the country manager for East West Seed, Nigeria. Adiza, please. Involved in agribusiness and project management, country manager for East West Seed. Adiza, please. Is Adiza on?
Yes, thank you. You had to unmute me. I was muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
On?
Yeah, I'm trying to you had to unmute. Share.
The host, can we have a bigger presentation? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it on. Oh, sorry, it's at the end. A minute. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Kabir, for the nice presentation, and thank you so much, Madam Folake. I will be speaking about the varieties we have in East West Seed for the sweet corn, and we have a quick glance of what it looks like, and then I will also speak a bit about the good characteristics of this variety. So I'll be speaking on sweet corn. For East West Seed, the sweet corn we have is Sugar King F1, which is a hybrid, and this beautiful display of sweet corn. This is what it looks like in the pack. We have 100 grams pack, we have 250 grams pack, and this is a beautiful display of Sugar King F1. You can see this is boiled Sugar King F1 or Sugar King sweet corn ready for eat, right? You see how good it looks. This is also a display of Sugar King F1, and we have a lot of customers that even process these varieties in Abuja and also in the South, where the lady is very particular. If you tell her you have sweet corn for sale, the first thing she will ask you is it East West Seed Sugar King F1? If it's a no, she wouldn't go for it, because she has had issues in the past where she blindly bought some sweet corn, and then at the end of the day, it ended up in a disaster. And then the sellers were like, okay, madam, sorry, we're going to supply you another batch. And she said, okay, fine. She told me that the second batch was even a worse package she got from them compared to the first one. So I think people that have tried Sugar King F1 know that there is no variety compared to East West Seed Sugar King F1, because one of the characteristics that it has is SH2. It means it's double sweet. Both the parent lines, the father, the mother, are quite sweet. So you can see this is Sugar King F1 in the field. You can see how heavy and big the cups are. So much more that it depends on the market you're selling. 3 cups can give you 1 kilo, although there are other markets that might want it even smaller if they sell in pieces. But particularly for this variety, I think it sells a lot because the cups are very big to pack. this is a field of sugarcane F1. Talking about the characteristics of this variety, maturity days is between 71 to 73 days, but sometimes we say plus or minus. It depends on the climatic condition. We can just say, okay, at 75 days, you're ready to go, because it all depends on how you do your harvest. Sometimes you might not have everything maturing on the same day. So plus or minus, when you look at 71 to 73 days, to get it right, you actually can do 75 days. And then you really need to pay attention, because if you allow it too long in the field, then you are up to lose everything, because you wouldn't have any good utilization once it gets dried. It just becomes like chaff. So people have to be careful to know their niche market, when to plant, when to harvest, and when to take to the market for sale. And of course, it should be consumed almost immediately. But if you're able to refrigerate it almost at 0 degrees temperature, it can stay over 2 weeks to 1 month. But then, to be on the safer side, if you don't have a cooling system, it's advisable you deliver on the day you pick from the field. Also, further characteristics has to do with the length. The length of the cup is between 20 to 21 centimeters. And then, of course, the number of rolls is between 80 to 20 rolls. It's very sweet, in fact, very tempting. If you try a cup, just like Kabir has mentioned, if you try sweet corn, you wouldn't go back to the field corn. Brix is very high, Brix of about 13%. And of course, the resistance that it has is to knot corn leaf blight. The length of the cup is long, like I said. It's very sweet and tasty. And of course, it has a very good shelf life. What do I mean? It can stay a few days, even outside refrigeration, and then you still have that sweet taste, compared to some other varieties that are not sweet, because it's not SH2. So I think I will pause at this junction to hand over to the next presenter. Thank you very much. You'll be seeing me in a while again.
Thank you so much, Adiza, for that presentation. We'll quickly go into the second presentation for today. And our speaker is none other than Malam Umar Azika. Malam Azika is a farmer from Sokoto State with over 30 years farming experience. We will have him, he will share his experience in Hausa language, after which we would have Mr. Aminu translate and give us a short presentation. So if we can have Malam Azika, please. Aminu, if you are there, please, Malam Azika can come on.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Sunana Umar Azika daga Sokoto, Gwaranyo, Taloka, Gwaranyo local government. Ni manomi ne na albasa onion. Na kai shekaru 30 ina noma albasa. A yanzu na yi noman albasan East West tsawon shekaru 3 da suka wuce. Hakika irin albasan East West wanda na yi amfani da shi, wannan iri yana da abki sosai, wanda yake idan mutum ya yi ƙoƙari ya gyara a hekta guda da kuɗin da suka kai naira miliyan 1 da wasu ɗoya, in Allah da zai samu albasa wadda ta kai kimanin ton 48. 48 ɗin nan su zai baka kuɗi wanda za ka sayar da wannan albasan kimanin naira miliyan 5,700 da wasu ɗoriya sama. Hakika wannan iri yana da inganci sosai na East West. Da ƙarshe ina ba da shawara ga manoma 'yan uwana wanda zai yi amfani da East West ɗin. Na farko mutum ya samu iri ingantacce. iri ingantacce shine zai sa farin cikin manoma da na farko kenan. Sannan da farko sadda mutum zai fara noma ita albasa wani ya kamata a yi ƙoƙari ya gyara gona ta da takin na gida. In ka sa takin gida ka gyara gonanka, to idan aka gyara ta aka shuka albasa to za ta fito da inganci sosai. Na biyu, ya kamata mutum ya yi ƙoƙari ya bi shawarwarin ainihin duk abin da wannan aiki yake so, kama daga feshin magani, taki da kuma ainihin ban ruwa. Idan ka fake ta to lallai tabbas albasa za ta inganta sosai. Sannan na uku, ya kamata mutum ya ba da kulawa wajen iri, wajen ainihin albasa ɗin. Na huɗu, ya kamata mutum ya yi ƙoƙari lokacin da ya riga ya dasa albasa ya kula da ita iya kulawa. Da ƙarshe ina ba manoma shawara su yi amfani da wannan albasa ta Trema, wanda yake yana iya yi rani wa damuna, musamman mu da muka gwada shi a gonanmu. Yana nan mun sa shi mun yi kiwo ne kuma mun cire shi ya yi kyau kuma an cire kuma mun samu riba sosai. Wanda yake idan ka noma irin East West seed ɗin nan ko kuma ka noma ainihin albasa da zai kyau haka, zai baka riba in ka kwatanta kuɗin da ka kashe wurin noma. To wannan kuɗi zai linka maka shi sau huɗu. Misali ka kashe naira miliyan ɗaya da ɗoriya, ka cire ton ga hekta guda, ka cire ton 48. Ton 48 zai baka naira miliyan 5,700,000 da wasu ɗoriya sama. Kaga in ka cire kuɗin da ka kashe cikin watanni 4 ɗin da ka yi aiki, kaga ka samu riba kusan naira miliyan 4 da kusan 100,000 da ɗoriya sama. Kaga in ba irin in ka gyara wannan noman ba ƙaramin riba yake samu ba. Wanda yake mu mun ɗauki aniyar wannan noman kuma muna kira ga manoma 'yan uwanmu waɗanda suke son su yi wannan noma ko kuma suke noma, to su tabbatar da sun samu ingantaccen iri, musamman irin na Trema wanda yake mun gwada shi kuma ya yi. Za ku ga albasa ainihin da muka sa ta yi kyau, ta cire kuma mun sayar da ita kuma mun samu riba sosai. Na gode. Alhamdulillah, na gode. Allah shi abin sa. Allah shi taimake mu.
Thank you, Malam Azika. So we would have Mr. Aminu Gulumbe, our professor. He will translate what Malam Azika has just said, and he will give us a short presentation. Mr. Gulumbe is the commercial field promoter at East West Seed, covering Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, and Niger states. Prof, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. Please, may I have the presentation?
Prof, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. Okay, thank you so much. This presentation is strictly for Malam Umar Azika. It was compiled together with him. So can we move to the next slide? This presentation is strictly for, his name is Umar Azika. He's from Taloka Town, Gororo Local Government, Sokoto State of Nigeria. His occupation is farming. He has more than 30 years experience, and his main crop is onion. He has been using expressive varieties for 3 years or more than 3 years now. Can we move to the next slide? Experience, and his main crop is onion. Okay, profitability of cultivating Prema. Prema is a variety that is cultivated during rainy season as well as dry season. The cost of production for 1 hectare is 1,194,000, and based on Azika's experience, he got 48 tons per hectare, and he made a sales of 5 4,782,500 naira, and his ROI in naira amounts to 4,588,599 naira, with ROI in percentage to be 384.29%, multiplying his initial cost, that is the investment, by 4. Next slide. In percentage to be 384.29. Okay, this was Arzika's field when it was green, when he was cultivating it. If you look at it, it is disease free. The onion is doing very well and looking very, very healthy. Next slide, please. When he was cultivating it, if you look at it, it is disease free. The onion is doing very well and looking very, very healthy. Okay, this is the harvest. At harvest, everybody was surprised with the amount of yield that was obtained, even though Arzika was sure of the yield even at the beginning. He got 48 tons per hectare. Next slide, please. Amount of yield that was obtained, even though Arzika was sure. This is still the yield of the onions. The bulbs were uniform, and then the size is excellent. And other neighboring farmers are also happy with the yield. So now Arzika want to give us tips on for success. The first one is get good quality seed, which here we're talking about Prima. Then you should have an excellent land preparation, and you should incorporate manure. You should have good nursery management, because you might lose all your seedlings from the nursery, and from there, that is the beginning of failure. So you should have good nursery management. Then you should follow standard practices that are acceptable. Then timely operations. These operations include fertilizer application, days to transplanting, watering schedule, insecticide application, fungicide application, if there is need. Of the most critical here that our farmers feel is a good practice is farmers leaving the onion without watering for like 10 days or 14 days, thinking that the bulbs will grow big. From Arzika's experience, he realized that it is better you water adequately, because onion is also having life and it needs water to sustain itself. So with this presentation, Arzika said he is appealing to other farmers who are willing to come into this business, to come into it without any fear, because he's sure of the gains in it and he has seen the dividends. So thank you so much for listening. Come into this business, to come into it without any fear, because he's sure of the gains in it and he has seen the dividends. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Prof. And thank you once again, Madam Arzika. Once again, we call on Mrs. Yaro, the country manager for East West Seed in Nigeria, to speak on the different varieties of onion seeds. Once again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam Folake. Thank you, Aminu. Thank you, Arzika, for that nice presentation. So I'll take up varieties of East West seed for onion. Basically, for onion, we have different varieties for different seasons. For the main season, all varieties goes. It depends on the color that you want, and then maybe you might be looking at the maturity days, and of course, the purpose of cultivating the onion, if you want it for immediate fresh market, or you might want to store the onion. But particularly, we are talking about wet season onion today, because we are in the wet season now, which is very difficult for farmers to cultivate onion. But I think worldwide, one of the only company that has a breakthrough in wet season onion production is East West Seed. We have fantastic varieties that can withstand the rain season, but you have to do the planting shortly before the commencement of the rain, because the nursery stays about 5 to 6 weeks. It depends on the climatic condition. So today I'll be speaking about Prema. Prema is a fantastic variety, which we consider it to be dual season because we don't position other varieties like Deyo and Suprayali in the wet season. And then of course we have the hybrids coming into the market. We have the Red Star F1 and the Red Jewel F1, but particularly coming into the market new in a few years to come, I'm sure we'll begin to see onion hybrids in the market for East-West seed. So this is what it looks like. We have it in 50 grams canned. We have 100 grams pouch and a 250 grams pouch, but we're doing a serious campaign to enter into the market with these cans. And we had a promo not long ago where we gave these cans on discount because farmers are trying to establish the wet season onion. So it's a beautiful variety. You can see the color. Some of the characteristics I will run you through much later in my presentation. And of course, you would know why people go for Prema above other varieties. We had, of course, from the horse's mouth, that is Malam Arzika. This is his field in Sokoto, Goronyo. He's a farmer with precision, right? Because if you get to his field, he ensures he does all the agronomic practices our field promoters tell him. And that is where he's getting it right, because most farmers will feel, oh, I've been in this business for 30 years, so why should I listen to this young boy that maybe when I started farming, he wasn't even yet born. So Azika sticks to all his agronomic practices, and you can see how clean and organized Azika's field is, because that is a big success behind bumper harvest. This is also Aminu in Arzika's field. You can see how clean it is. He ensures he does his weeding, he does his routine spraying. He also applies all the fertilizer that is required for the planting season for onion. This is part of the harvest. This is just a section of the harvest from Arzika's field. This is Prema F1. And Arzika was part of the onion project we did in Kebbi and Sokoto State, which we just finished the harvesting. We are in partnership with FarmBridge. FarmBridge is a company that is involved in the mobilization of onion for the popular tiger foods we know based in Onitsha. We just have concluded, and today I think I got a video on this Prema being processed in Onitsha. Not to leave the southern part of the country behind, you can see clearly people think onion cannot grow in the south, but I think I beg to disagree, because I've had several trials years back. I think my first trial was with British American Tobacco in Oyo State, where we had a demonstration and we had fantastic results from the onion demo. After that, we have positioned other onion sites in the southern area, both in the south and of course in the southwest. If you're familiar with your news, you will hear last year the state government in Akwa Ibom trained about 100 youths in onion production, and they got a bumper harvest from that particular exercise. So these are our field promoters in the southwest of the country, where we tried the onion and it did very well. Very soon we're setting up the wet season demonstrations, which of course we can make sites available for farmers to take advantage of, to visit the site and learn from our field promoters. This is a field day also in the south where we positioned onion and it did very well. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Hadiza, for that presentation on your varieties. Now, I think we'll quickly take a very short advert from Know Your Farm Hands. They have requested for just 2 minutes. Know Your Farm Hands, are you ready? Before we go into our question and answer session. Short, very short advert from Know Your
Meet
Farm
Ayo,
Hands.
a businessman with lots of stocks and investments. Amongst his properties are the hectares of land before him. As the risk taker he is, Ayo invested 50% on mixed farming, 20% on livestock production, and 30% on crop farming, all in a hope to get more returns on investments and cash out. To commence work, Ayo put out a signboard and hired anyone who looked fit and agile enough to him. It all felt like things were working out. But things did not turn out like Ayo hoped. He was spending more than he was getting, losing more than he was winning, and he questioned why. It was later revealed to Ayo that his farm hands had been duping him, stealing the produce and earning from it all. He realized it was all his fault. He had simply hired without doing any background check to determine their worthiness. Almost bankrupt, Ayo decided to quit. Later, he meets Joy, who introduces the Know Your Farm Hands app to him and tells him he could better know his farm hands before recruiting them. Know Your Farm Hands is an application that guides a farm owner on recruitment of farm hands with reference to their previous experiences and farmers' encounters about them. Know Your Farm Hands offers seamless means of getting farm hands data before recruiting them. In it, previous employers' review of the employee are uploaded and available to new employers. Not just that, farmers can also appraise their farm hands for the benefit of other farmers that might want to employ them in the future. You can verify the experience of your about-to-be employed farm hands on the application by just searching with his first name or phone number to get all his data, including his picture, previous farm name, employer, and his review. To get started, download the application for free on Google Play Store. For more information or support, send a mail to support@knowyourfarmhands.ng or visit our website at knowyourfarmhands.ng or call 0905 399 4937 or 0705 368 0191. With Know Your Farm Hands application, Ayo could really cash out and have returns on his investment. With Know Your Farm Hands, farm owners can allay their fears about their farm hands. With Know Your Farm Hands.
Thank you, Know Your Farm Hands. We'll go into question and answer session very quickly. And I think Mr. Kabir needs to go soon. So we'll quickly take questions that have to do with sweet corn. And I think you have been answering some questions on the chat. Most of the questions I think you have responded to. But I'll quickly read out one from Adewale Akinleye, who says that, what do you do in a farm being terrorized by monkeys? They ate virtually half of our corn, whether it's sweet corn or normal corn. Can you please respond to that, Mr. Kabir?
I think I responded in the chat. You might need to buy a shotgun if it's monkeys, or you need to have more security. Unfortunately, it's not easy to control monkeys when they are attacking a plot, but you need security, you need a deterrent, So most times, to be honest, most farmers try to get security that have shotguns or, if you have people that will stave them away, but it's a hard one to control. There's no one answer for that.
Okay, thank you very much. There are a few questions here I'm not sure you have responded to on the chat. There's one question there are actually two questions from DLT Elisha, I think. It says, what's the best irrigation option for sweet corn? Contact of the processors in the south. Then a friend told me that I should cut off maize tassel if I'm planting it close to pepper and other vegetable plots, because the maize tassel will affect the growth of other vegetables. How true is this? Is it advisable to do this for sweet corn?
Okay, I have seen situations where they break them off because you want to have more sunlight coming in for the grains or the combination farming you're doing under. So there's a popular system called the Three Sisters. The corn is the older sister that comes in. the pepper, or the pepper most times is the second sister, then a legume like beans is the third sister. So they all give each other a certain level of support. For sweet corn, I will not advise you to cut the tassels. Instead, I will tell you to give yourself more spacing so that the pepper underneath it can get a bit of sunlight. But yes, I will not advise cutting off the tassels because that's when you want the maize to start drying up. And also, most times we will not. I don't want to discourage you from mixed cropping because it's something that a lot of our smallholder farmers do, and it's a reality that most farmers do. But I will advise, if you want to get the best, I will say just plant your sweet corn in a row neatly, like we saw in the images Hadiza showed. But if you must intercrop, then think of creating more space rather than still using the same 20 cm or 30 cm spacing. I think I see Hadiza's hand raised up, so maybe she might have something to say along that.
Okay, thank you, Kabiri. I just want to respond to the question. Like we always advocate as much as possible. It could be different for others, but for East West, particularly sweet corn, I will advise 101% you go on sole cropping. And of course, cutting of tassels is a terrible practice, except if you're into breeding work. You might end up with a lot of missing canals because that is where the stigma is, right? You have the pollen grain on the tassels that need to shed on the silk that it receives, and then fertilization is on. So people tassel or detassel for several reasons, and farmers just move around the fields and say, oh, the tassels are off, then you think it's a good practice. Mostly breeders do that, one, in order to avoid cross-pollination. That is why people do a lot of detasseling. But where you have your F1 varieties and then you're planting your sweet corn, you have no reason at all to detassel such corn. And of course, if we're looking at maybe angle of leaf inclination, where you say it's shading the lower plants, of course, there are a lot of implications if you talk about crop crop philosophy, physiology. You should not even allow that kind of a scenario because the higher crops deprive the lower ones. In fact, not just even another crop of the same crop itself. That is why you see yield in some particular varieties are higher because of the angle of leaf inclination. The angle of light interception also determines the kind of photosynthete that your crop gets at the end of the day. So please, I wouldn't advise any farmer to do that. And as much as possible, except in tomato where you have to do some pruning for the indeterminate varieties, we don't even encourage that you do a lot of pruning, except where you have maybe diseased leaves or something like that. So please, it's not a practice I would encourage anybody to do. And of course, when you're planting corn or sweet corn, it is very important that you avoid planting in rows, just one row and it stands. You end up with a lot of missing canals. So in a scenario where you have maybe 20 plants to grow, you don't just plant the 20 on a straight line, because the pollen grains now has to cross over. So it's better you do like a 4x5 kind of arrangement where the first row is able to pollinate the second row is able to pollinate the third row, and then the fourth row, as it were. There is this popular story of a corn farmer where maybe some of you must have read it. It's a funny one, but there are lessons to be learned. Anytime he wants to plant his corn, what he does is he gets some extra seeds and share with his neighbors to say, hey, can you just plant it? And then people were excited all around that, this is a generous farmer. He wasn't really generous at the end of the day. What was he doing? He was trying to avoid contamination so that if he plants a very good variety and you plant a very funny variety, at the end of the day, it contaminates his field. So it looks as if he's generous, but then
We can't hear you, Adiza.
I think at the end of the day, he was a selling varieties, right? That gives free seeds. Okay, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes,
can you
we
hear
can.
me? Yeah,
yes,
sure.
You were off.
I don't know if you had the end of my story. Did you?
We had yes, the end. Yeah, but I think
Okay.
we missed one or two things in between. Okay.
Yeah, to summarize, what I said is, it looks as if the farmer is doing a favor by sharing out seeds, but then at the end of the day, he was a selfish farmer in quote, because at the end of the day, he's trying to protect his interests so that he wouldn't have a lot of cross-pollination from varieties he doesn't even know. So that ends the story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Kabir, you have to go. I'm aware of that, but I will just ask you one last question while we take the others. It says it's a question from Peju. At how many days or weeks should the farmer stop the application of pesticides before harvest? That's so as to avoid its effect on the harvest.
Okay, so for me on our farm and on my own planting, I stop about 2 weeks. So anything between 15 to 20 days. Because by then the cobs should have been formed. I'm not worried about armyworm at that point in time. So anything I will use at that point will be more of neem oil, biological crop protections that usually have PHI of like a day or 2 days. So you can spray neem oil and in 2 days time you can consume the produce. But in terms of hard chemicals or conventional crop protection like Plingo, Tihan or the rest of them, between 15 to 20 days before we know it's ready for harvest.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kabir.
No problem. And just to add for the irrigation, because maize needs a lot of water, they can do furrow irrigation. They can use spray tubes because it's not like tomatoes or peppers or other vegetables where we are worried so much about fungal infection. So they can use spray tubes because that also reduces the microclimate and it makes the pollination a lot better. And they can do furrow irrigation. But you can also use drip irrigation and make sure you supply consistently the water so you don't get what we call the cat face pollination, where you see a lot of space between the cobs. The kernels are very sparsely produced on the cob. So you need consistent water. If you're using drip irrigation, make sure you monitor the level and if possible, mulch it. But the easiest is usually spray tubes, furrow irrigation, or we pray for rain.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ademo. We appreciate your presence and your sharing your knowledge with us. And I know you need to go, so we'll let you go at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone else that joined us. Hopefully we'll catch up again.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. Can we have, I think there's a reaction from Dami Lola. Dami, would you like to say something? You have your hands raised. Can you unmute Dami, please? Okay, well, while we wait for Dami.
Yeah,
Dami, you are muted. Okay, yes.
Yeah. All right, so fantastic evening, everybody. I am Mr. Kabir Bastide, fantastic contribution and lecturing. All right, so I just want to put one or two things in more light, talking about seed rate, Mr. Kabir is trying to make it general, trying to bring general perspective to the variety in the market. In our variety, you need sugarcane F1 to say, or any East-West variety, you need minimum or max of 6 kilos to plant an hectare. You don't need up to 15 kilos because I know he mentioned 15 kilos per hectare to add the seed rate. So for sugarcane, max you need is 6 kilos. So looking around the cost, you can see that you have saved a lot of cost in in buying seed. Paraventure, and you don't need to plant 2 seed per row. You just need to plant 1 because the germination percentage is more than 90%, right? So that's what I want to contribute. Furthermore, we had more on discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dami. We have a question I think has to do with onions. It says, how do you handle weeding? Then what type of fertilizer is used for the onion production? Or is it only manure, because the speaker only mentioned the incorporation of manure? So Professor, if you are still on, would you like to answer that question? Or Hadiza?
I'll allow Aminu to speak. Aminu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go on.
Okay, please, Mark, can you repeat the question?
Okay. So it says, the first question is, how do you handle weeding? Then what? Weeding. How do you weed?
Okay.
Then the next one is, what type of fertilizer is used for the onion production? Is it only manure, because the speaker only mentioned only incorporation of manure?
Okay.
Did you get, okay.
Yeah, I got the questions. The first question is, how do you handle weeding?
Yes.
Weeding is normally done manually, but then there are selective herbicides that you can use. We have oxyflurane and we have pendimethalin. If you know how to use them, if you use them appropriately, you can succeed in reducing the weeds in your farm, but you have to complement with manual weeding. But in most cases, farmers here do manual weeding. Then the fertilizer that you are supposed to use, manure, is just to provide a good condition, and then the release of nutrients in manure might take time. If you apply this year, most of the nutrients might be released next year or in 2 years' time. You must, and I repeat, you must apply NPK and urea. You apply at 35 grams per 2 meters of 1 meter bed, 2 meters length. 1 meter, if your bed is width of your bed, if you look at our protocol, you see that the width of our bed is 1 meter. So every 2 meters, length of 2 meters, you apply 35 grams of your NPK 1515 or urea, which you will apply later. So application, number of applications varies, but then you must apply it within the first 50 days. At 50 days, you cease fertilizer application for onions. So depending on the fertility status of your soil, you might apply 2 or 3 times within the first 50 days. I hope I have answered your questions.
Thank you very much, Prof. I believe you have. Now there's a question from Peju, and it says, can you share again the slide for the breakdown of onion costing? But while we do that, while we are getting the slide for the onion costing, can we please answer this question on sweet corn? It says, what can we do to prevent our sweet corn from bringing out more than 2 cobs? Farmers complain of bringing out multiple cobs, and at the end, the cobs will be scattered. I think that's the question. So the question, once again, is how to prevent sweet corn from bringing out more than 2 cobs, because according to the person who asked the question, the cobs will be scattered when they come out in multiples. Adiza, I'm directing that to you.
Hello?
Yes, Hadiza.
I missed a bit of that.
So the question, the person asked how to prevent what's it called, sweet corn coming out in more than 2 cobs from bringing out 2 cobs, because there's a complaint that when the cobs are multiple, they come out, the corn is scattered from the cobs?
No, I don't think that's the case. I can shed more light, but that is not the case at all. If it's scattered, it's more of issues around pollination or maybe issues around a varietal trait. Having cobs on the plant, it depends on your market, right? There are people that sell baby corn. It's not too popular here, but if you go to Europe and other parts of the world, you see people patronizing baby corn, and in fact, they're even more expensive than the corn itself because you pick it out when it's still not fully formed, right? Generally, if you want very good crops, you allow for 2 crops. You will see even with sugarcane, I've seen in the field, you will see about 5 crops coming out. Some are false, especially where you actually did your fertilization very well and the plant is really growing in luxury. 5, 6 crops will be coming up. What you do, you take the 2 main crops and keep aside, and then you remove all other side shoots or side crops that are coming up. So that's my advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Adisa. So can we quickly go back to Prof, if you can please run this slide again, the slide on the onion profitability. Aminu.
Ma?
Please, you can run this slide again. Just go through this slide again for the benefit of the person asking.
This is based on Arzika's experience. He used 1,194,000 to buy inputs, labor, and everything for the cultivation of 1 hectare, and he obtained 48 tons for 1 hectare. And then from there, he had sales of 5,782,500 naira. And if you say, okay, subtract the 1,194,000 from 5,782,500 naira, if you subtract, you will get 4,588,599, which will bring a rough estimate of the ROI in percentage to be 384%. And basically what it is saying is that it's like you are multiplying your investment by 4. You get it as output. I hope it is okay.
Yes, thank you. And I think we have responded to all the questions in the chat. One just came in. Does this onion cost include irrigation?
Yes, it includes irrigation, but without irrigation facility, cost of fueling. Because Arzika was already having his pumping machine, he used flooding type of irrigation. So he just used his fuel and he pumped water into the beds. So it includes cost of fueling, not cost of the facility for irrigation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And yes, for everyone who has requested for a copy of the recording, please send your email address in the chat so that we can send you the recording. And I think we have responded to all the questions. For those who want contact details of East West Seed, we will include it in the chat right now. So to just give a few minutes before you leave so that you can take the contact details of East West Seed. So on behalf of VD&S Farmer Center, I'd like to say a very big thank you to Royal Blue Contractors and East West Seed International. And to our speakers of today, Mr. Kabir Ademo and Malam Umar Azika, for sharing their experiences with us and challenging us that we too can be better farmers and more productive farmers. We thank our able translator, Mr. Liu Gulumbe, the professor himself, and our very own Mrs. Adiza Yaro, for once again enriching us with knowledge on the available seed varieties we have at East West Seed. We appreciate our sponsor, Know Your Farm Hands, and we say a very big thank you to you great farmers who have set out time today to attend our webinar. At VD&S Farmers Center, our aim is to positively impact farmers' lives and businesses, and we trust we have been able to add value to you. For further questions and other clarification, please contact us at info@vdsfarmsonline.com. Thank you and God bless you. Please stay back and pick up the email addresses, the contact details for East West Seed and every other contact you may require. Thank you.
Shey you dey face wahala to hire farm hand wey dey reliable and hardworking? Shey you dey face yawa of steal from the people dem wey dey work for you? Shey the profit wey you dey make now no reach wetin you suppose dey make because people wey dey work for you no dey honest, dem no just send you? We don carry Know Your Farm Hands come. Make you download Know Your Farm Hands app from Play Store on top your Android device, come start to dey register your farm hands for free. If you don register on this app, you go fit verify the worker wey you get mind to hire to work on top your farm. Because farmers wey be like you don add each farm hand on top there and dem don talk wetin dem know about dem for there sef. The only thing wey you need to do na to put your information for there, open account, then just log inside the app. After that, if you click for the corner wey dey the bottom left, you go fit search for the farm hand wey you wan hire with their names, email and phone number until you see the farm hand wey you dey find. Farmers wey don work with the worker wey you get for mind to hire go flag dem and then give you information as per the experience wey dem get with dem. Make you sef register your own farm hands on top the app and you fit come carry their fingerprints put for there. Yes, this one go be like unique identification for each farm hand. Immediately dem don dey registered, just click on top flag to talk wetin you know about dem. If you need help as you dey do all of this, just send email to support@knowyourfarmhands.ng abi make you phone 0705 3680 191 or 0809 091 5139. Sabi your farm hands make you for free from stress. Free from stress.
Has hiring reliable and hardworking farm hands been a nightmare for you? Have you had incidents of pilfering or stealing by your workers? Have your profits been eroded by activities of insincere workers? Introducing Know Your Farm Hands. Download Know Your Farm Hands app from the Play Store on your Android device and start registering your farm hands for free. When you register on this app, you'll be able to verify your prospective farm workers. Each farmhand is added and reviewed by farmers just like you. All you have to do is create an account, enter your information, then log in. Then, by clicking at the bottom left corner, you can search your potential farmhands by name, email, and phone number until you find the farmhand you are looking for. Farmers who have worked with your potential staff will flag them and provide information on their experience.